Welcome back to Askewed Reviews. And throughout this week, I'm doing trivia reviews for the entire John Wick series. And today, I'm doing the 2017 film John Wick Chapter 2. Here's your trivia question for today, and it's the first time where I'm doing a fill in the blank. With the amount of blatant violent crime, it is surprising that we only see one throughout both of the first two films. What is that blank? The answer will be at the end of this episode. So, in John Wick Chapter 2, we meet Abram, who is apparently the brother of Vigo from the first film. Now, the reason that we're meeting Abram is because he is in possession of a car, and that car just so happens to belong to John Wick. John does have to get his hands a little dirty, but he does manage to get his car back. Once back home, John ends up running into an old acquaintance named Santino D'Antonio. Some time ago, John gave Santino a marker. This is an item that Santino could use at any time to have John Wick complete a task for him. John initially refuses, but after a little bit of convincing, he is willing to do the task. The mission is to take out Santino's sister Gianna, so that way Santino can get her seat at the high table. Technically, John does complete his mission. Unfortunately, and to no one's surprise, Santino ends up betraying John. And now Santino's number one assassin, Ares, along with Gianna's head of security, Cassian, are both after him. To make matters worse, Santino has also placed a bounty on John's head. So will John Wick be able to use all of his skills to get himself out of this situation? This film was once again directed by Chad Stahelski. It takes place less than a week after the first film. It didn't take much for Keanu Reeves to be able to jump right back into this character, but he did have training for 3 months on martial arts, marksmanship, and driving. Reeves also performed 95% of his own stunts, other than when John Wick is hit by the car and when he's falling down the stairs with Cassian. Aside from Keanu Reeves as John Wick, there are only 3 returning actors as their characters for the second film. You have Ian McShane as Winston, Lance Reddick as Sharon, and John Leguizamo as Aurelio. Here are some of the new faces that you might also recognize from other films. You have Ricardo Scamarcio as Santino D'Antonio. You have Ruby Rose as Ares, who, by the way, Rose actually has a boxing background, and they decided to build that into the character of Ares. And if you weren't aware, Rose is neither deaf nor mute, so it's just her character that uses sign language. Common plays the character of Cassian. Claudia Girini is Gianna D'Antonio. Lawrence Fishburne plays the Bowery King. This film is also the first time since The Matrix Reloaded, which came out in 2003, that Reeves and Fishburne have worked together. And finally, we have Peter Stormare as Abram. And if you didn't know this, this is the fourth film that both Peter Stormare and Keanu Reeves performed together in. The other 3 were Constantine, Henry's Crime, and Swedish Sticks. Did you happen to recognize the sumo assassin? He was played by Yama Ryuta, the heaviest Japanese-born sumo wrestler in history. The Italian tailor is played by Luca Mosca, who is the costume designer of the John Wick films. Did you happen to recognize the rooftop garden in this scene? Well, this rooftop has been used in multiple movies, but probably one of the most well-known is the Spider-Man film from 2002. As I mentioned in my review for the first film, John Wick does appear in the video game Payday 2, but there is an homage to that game as the Payday clown masks are seen in the background of one scene. In this scene, which looks like it takes place at a museum, well, it actually did. This was filmed at Rome's Metropolitan Museum of Modern Art. They had no issue with the filming occurring there, but any of the art pieces you see up on the walls were just duplicates. The action sequence with John Wick, Cassian, and numerous assassins was shot at the Path Center in Freedom Tower. This is the first film to shoot there. The mirror room scene near the end of the film was a nod to the movie Enter the Dragon. John Wick's body count in this film is 51. This movie was filmed in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, New York, and Italy. So when it comes to the film John Wick Chapter 2, I really enjoy this one much more than the first film, mainly due to the fact that I feel that this actually has a real plot, there's some great characters and character growth, and the action scenes are really, really good in this one. So I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. And if you enjoyed this one, other films I recommend checking out are Atomic Blonde, The Killer's Game, The Equalizer, and Jack Reacher. Now it's time to answer the trivia question from the beginning of this episode. With the amount of blatant violent crime, it is surprising that we only see one throughout both of the first two films. And the answer is police officer. In the first and second films, we don't see any of them except for one guy named Jimmy, who really is just trying to make sure that he stays out of John Wick's way. With all of the crime happening in these first two films, it's shocking that no other police officers show up. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews, and keep an eye out as I'm going to continue doing trivia reviews for the rest of the John Wick films during this week.